I knew something was up the first time somebody asked me how close I lived to Waco. I had lived in Texas my entire life. I am a Texas apologist, and yet never once in my 20 plus years of life had anyone ever asked me how close I lived to Waco. Yet here I was in college with eager fans asking me, have you ever been to Waco? And don't get me wrong, I do love the Dr. Pepper Museum, but these people were not asking me if I'd been to Waco because of an affection for the Dr. Pepper Museum. No, they were asking me because of America's favorite home renovators, Chip and Joanna Gaines. How did Chip and Joanna Gaines take over Waco? That is my question, and that's what we're going to answer today. My name is Elizabeth. I grew up in a fundamentalist religious cult, and I like to talk about things that are borderline culty. Maybe sometimes they are, maybe sometimes they're not. That is up for you to decide. So let's talk about Chip and Joanna Gaines and how they took over Waco, Texas. Little confession, I have never seen an episode of Fixer Upper. I grew up in a home with a 90s box TV set that only used a VHS player to watch tapings from the Advanced Basic Seminar. So no, I did not watch much TV. We didn't have live TV, so I didn't watch it. The first time I ever heard of the show Fixer Upper was when a friend told me she was taking her out-of-state friends to visit Waco. I assumed it was to visit my favorite place, the Dr. Pepper Museum, but my friend told me no, they were going to a new place that was some sort of named Magnolia, and I had never heard of it. Naturally, I was curious, but I didn't pursue it further because I was a child without access to internet. When I went to college in 2015, Chip and Joanna Gaines were all the rage in Christian circles. I can't count the number of times I told people I was from Texas, and they asked if I had been to Magnolia Farms in Waco. And when I mentioned I never saw an episode of the show, I quickly became aware of the couple's relationship to mainstream Christianity and the fact that everyone was obsessed with them. How did Chip and Joanna go from a regular Waco couple to the stars of an HGTV show? So this is from an article in which they shared how they landed their role with HGTV. Joanna convinced Chip to take a chance. However, according to their memoir, The Magnolia Story, Chip and Joanna did not hit the nail on the head during their first screen test. The crew had me stand in the kitchen and try to make pancakes with the kids hanging off my legs while Chip was basically sucking his thumb in the corner. Right when Chip, Joanna, and the film crew thought the possibility of creating a TV show was non-existent, the ugliest rundown two-story shack of a boat showed up in their driveway. Joanna wrote that Chip had purchased the boat to remodel, unbeknownst to her, with the dream of moving the family into it. An argument ensued, but then turned into a conversation about how the couple could transform the boat. That candid moment sold producers, and the rest is history. As Joanna wrote, that rotten houseboat turned out to be a blessing in disguise. For some reason, our culture is obsessed with couples who fight and make up on TV, who have a great rapport relationship, and who seem to go through conflict together and come out of it stronger. Maybe it's because we don't have great representation of that in the media, and Chip and Joanna seem to fill that gap super duper well, which I admire, even though that is not really my jam. I only watch home renovation shows when I am stuck at the nail salon and have nothing else to do.
I think that Chip and Joanna Gaines are the number one reason to love America because while they're an average family, they also work insanely hard.
For Joe and I to have worked so hard and to have started this beautiful family, 4 gorgeous kids out here in Waco, Texas on 40 acres, it really does seem like the American dream.
Fixer Upper is largely credited with the rise in popularity of farmhouse chic interior design from the late 2010s. My favorite word, shiplap. I love that word, even though it's not my style. In 2018, Zillow reported that houses with architectural designs from the show, such as wainscoting, shiplap, clawfoot bathtubs, and barn doors, sold at an average of 30% above estimated value. In addition, the show has generated tourism and economic development in Waco. We're going to talk about that more. So they filmed the show in Waco, and that has been credited with the explosive growth of the market in between Waco and Austin and into the DFW Metroplex. Waco is like right in between Dallas and Austin. It used to be the stop. We would stop there a lot on the way back and forth between Dallas and Austin. Right there in the middle. Now, Chip and Joanna Gaines have had multiple controversies, and the main one being that they attended a church that had a notoriously homophobic pastor. Now, Chip and Joanna Gaines want you to know one thing. They're not homophobic. They just go to a church that teaches that gay people go to hell. Antioch Community Church, their home church, has been a major force in Chip and Joanna Gaines' lives. It is a mega church that's become a cornerstone in Waco. I think I saw that they've planted over 20 other churches around the country. And I read a really great in-depth BuzzFeed article about Antioch and the impact that Antioch has had on the Waco community. Now, this article is from 2018, so just continue to imagine how much this church has continued to impact the community even 4 years later, 5 years later. One of the quotes in this article that I found fascinating is this quote that the reporter was talking to a member of the community. The belief that homosexuality is a sin, and a pathological one at that, is common across Waco's Christian community. When the LGBTQ thing became a scandal, I found it so weird. A woman who grew up in Waco told me, that's like 80% of the churches in Waco. It's nothing new. It's not easy to be a queer person in Waco. Charlie Garrison, the openly gay pastor of Central Texas Metropolitan Community Church, told me, people here use phrases like homosexual lifestyle and love the sinner, hate the sin, which, blah. When I attended an Antioch service in March, healing from a homosexual lifestyle was mentioned twice during the 90-minute service. So the reporter ran into a lot of homophobia, and they seemed to be a little bit surprised by that. And if you just look into the community of Waco, it is notoriously homophobic. In 2017, a local justice of the peace actually said that she was refusing to give marriage licenses to people who were gay, even after the Supreme Court ruled that gay marriage was legal. Waco is also the home to Baylor University. Baylor is also notoriously homophobic and has strict rules for LGBTQ students who live under threat if they live openly as LGBTQ on campus. Now, Chip and Joanna Gaines have tried to distance themselves from the anti-gay rhetoric of Antioch Community Church, especially after a huge controversy after same-sex marriage was made legalized, and one of the pastors of that church became infamous for saying that gay people should not be allowed to get married. Chip and Joanna Gaines actively said, we don't stand with that, we love all people, but they didn't leave Antioch Community Church, and they still attend that church and support that church. And in fact, they told a reporter in 2020 when they were getting ready to launch their own Magnolia network on TV, the reporter brought up the accusations of racism and the fact that they've never had an LGBTQ couple on their show, and they seem to steer clear of people of color and black people, and a lot of people have accused them of both racism and homophobia. And this is a statement that Chip and Joanna Gaines told the reporter. The accusations that get thrown at you, like you're a racist or you don't like people in the LGBTQ community, that's the stuff that really eats my lunch, because it's so far from who we really are. I literally want to pull my hair out. Joanna, if you're being accused of being racist or homophobic, this isn't about you. It's not about you. So she says that's the stuff that really eats my lunch, because it's so far from who we really are. If it really is bothering you, then you need to act and show that that's not who you really are, because making the pain that the LGBTQ community has gone through, or the black community has gone through, and the reason that you're being called racist or homophobic, making that about you is just proving the point that you probably are racist or homophobic. This statement is just self-righteous enough and passive and evasive enough to actually avoid the whole issue that people pointed out years ago, which is the fact that Chip and Joanna Gaines are associated with Antioch Community Church. And it's an association that not only do they attend that church, they have business partnerships with Antioch Community Church. They have never left, and they have deep relationships with people attending that church. Antioch has a reputation of being a kingdom-building church. They have a dogma that their responsibility is to convert the city of Waco to be like them. And I'm not just saying this. This is actually from their own church websites. So in a 2017 blog post for Antioch Community Church, Kimberly Batson, who co-owns Common Grounds Coffee Shop with her husband, and she appeared on the first season of Fixer Upper. She lives in North Waco, is heavily associated with Magnolia and Chip and Joanna Gaines. She wrote in a blog post for Antioch Community Church, "As the rain soaks in the ground outside, I can't help but think of the decades of prayer for this town that have gone before us, preparing the soil for all that is happening. Those prayers have been made ripe. The opportunity to dream, build, grow, and uncover what we, quote, pioneer spirits, end quote, are living into right now. How often in life does one feel they can make an eternal and economic impact on a place? However, it is thrilling to me. If you're in Waco right now, you're being invited into God's vision." Batson then invites the readers to pray that, quote, "we expand and grow as a city, that our roots would grow deeper, that the city of Waco would make the wisest choices for outlining our growth, that the right people would be in the right positions making the best decision. We are called to engage in what is happening throughout the city and establish a kingdom culture." And then in the blog post, they link to how to apply to be on the city's board of commissioners. So yeah, that is mixing politics and religion right in there. And when Chip and Joanna Gaines are accused of gentrifying Waco, it's also an accusation of using their position in their church to make it more economically friendly to them at the expense of the people who are currently living in Waco and who have lived in there for generations and who it is their home, and they are being pushed out by the gentrification done by Chip and Joanna Gaines. So I looked at some numbers and I was actually like freaking shocked by these numbers. In September 2020, 93,000 visitors visited Waco, according to data from the Waco Convention and Visitors Bureau. 1 year later, in a year, over 120,000 people visited Waco. 120,000 people. And a lot of this tourism is driven by people visiting Magnolia, the place. Is it Magnolia? I'm not even bothering. I'm so lazy right now. I'm not even bothering looking up it's Magnolia Network, but it's like Magnolia Farms, the place that they like the silos, the coffee shops, the like place that people like to visit, the like Magnolia place. It's Chip and Joanna Gaines tourist hub spot. People like to visit there. And people visiting has contributed to people moving. Waco is one of the top 5 Googled cities that people are interested in moving to, and a lot of the like interest in moving to Waco is directly driven by people watching Chip and Joanna Gaines' show, getting this idealized image of Waco, and wanting to move to the city where Chip and Joanna Gaines renovate homes. And that has contributed to major issues for the people who have always lived in Waco and who are now struggling to afford the city because of Chip and Joanna Gaines. Over the last 4 years, property taxes have skyrocketed. This is according to the House Chronicle, between 10 and 40%. And that is in a city that is 21% Black, 32% Latino, and where 26% of the city lives below the poverty line. And yet, these tourists and new homeowners are flocking to Magnolia and the city of Waco and the Waco region as part of the Gaines empire. And it is marketed as a place to move to. And not only do people visit Magnolia, Chip and Joanna Gaines' place, but they offer there's a whole sightseeing industry that is built up around exploring the city where Chip and Joanna Gaines live, work, do their reconstruction work. I found this article from the Houston Chronicle very, very interesting. I love this paragraph. I think it speaks a lot of the culture of people sightseeing at Chip. Sorry, my dog is being noisy. At Chip and Joanna Gaines' place. Tour buses idle outside the compound's black metal fences where visitors from around the country disembark to see Magnolia in person. Those who decide to see the city via bus will visit spots such as Baylor's campus, shops featured in Fixer Upper, and the city's largest park. However, the tour does not take them past the Kate Ross Apartments, the city's 80-year-old low-income apartments that face an uncertain future with their prime location on I-35. The bus does not drive by South Terrace, the public housing that was converted to subsidized housing. Antioch Community Church, Chip and Joanna Gaines, that culture promises restoration. It promises taking over a city for a vision of economic future and growth and economic policies that benefit people like Chip and Joanna Gaines and their church community. Chip and Joanna Gaines promise Waco and their community via their church, Antioch Community Church, and the Magnolia Network restoration. But the question remains, who is this restoration for and who is this restoration harming? This is kind of a short video because I don't think there's too much to be said about Chip and Joanna Gaines. I find their kind of style annoying, to be honest. Like, I find it whitewashing and ignoring the problems that have been created by their gentrification. Their idea of fixer-upper plays into the narrative that Antioch Community Church has for Waco, and that Waco is a community that needs to be fixed, and people like Antioch Community Church and Chip and Joanna Gaines offer a solution. For that community, their solution can end up harming them. They're offering a solution for people who have not asked to be fixed, by buying cheap property and turning it into home renovations in neighborhoods that are low income. By gentrifying those neighborhoods, they are actively harming that community, and the only people being fixed are the people we see in television and not the community at large. This paragraph from Buzzfeed, I think, is one of the best in all the reading I did, and I read a lot for this article. for this video, I mean. Can development, which values a community for what it is, not just for the land it occupies, withstand or even just coexist with the Antioch attitude of coming into a community, ministering to them, and loving on them? You know what the language is code for, one resident asked me. They want to come in and fix me, fix us. But you know what? We're not broken. Do we want to better ourselves in our circumstances? Of course. But that doesn't mean we need fixing. That statement is an indictment on the evangelical culture of converting people who they automatically see as a problem for not living like themselves. And I think that is the problem I have with a Chip and Joanna Gaines, is anyone who isn't living like them is not living the best kind of life, and they see a need to convert them or to show them a better life. And Antioch Community Church plays right into that. That is my little video on Chip and Joanna Gaines. I hope it was entertaining at the very least. I did have fun researching this. I actually read the Buzzfeed article on their gentrification of Waco back in like my senior year of college in 2019. And I remember having such a distaste for Fixer Upper in 2019. So I was ahead of the curve. But it's been fun to go back, find that article, find the Houston Chronicle article. Both of those are some of the best reporting on Chip and Joanna Gaines and the problems they have caused the Waco community at large, and to film a little video on it. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know what video topics you would like to see going forward. I love to talk about the intersection of evangelicalism, fundamentalism, and American culture, and I think Fixer Upper and Chip and Joanna Gaines fall right into that. So thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my Patreon, where I post the video ideas I have and get feedback from my patrons on what videos they would like to see me make. And I will see all of y'all here next time. See ya.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.